coming up on The Source.
Newcastle, all these different places. Time and time again, a black life is being discarded.
Why do you feel we don't matter to America?
You look at that video. In the city of Wilmington, we have Lamont Moses. We have Jeremy McDowell. In Delaware overall, we have Rodney Reed. We have so many other cases here, just like Tyree, of unarmed black people being murdered.
There is no chaos right now. This is the time to get to the bottom of it. People are looking for a reason not to give Delaware State University the money. This is Dr. Curry.
This is Kobe Owens.
And welcome to The Source. We are really, Kobe, going through a whole lot of different mixed emotions and all kind of stuff going on. But before we get into some of the main things we want to talk about today, I want to just, report, as we do every week, there were no murders that we have by gun. We did have someone was shot. Was stabbed rather to death, but that was not I think that was a related situation here in the city. But while there's no shooting to death or murders with guns, I did notice that there's an uptick in shootings in the city. Now, the thing I'm concerned about, and I want to make sure that I'm clear on, is that some of these shootings are not being reported. There are people who get all the shooting. What do you call that report where if a gunshot is fired?
Shot spotter
data.
Yeah.
Now, who gets those reports?
So that goes to the real-time crime data analyst center that's set up within the police department that they fought for a few years ago.
Okay. Well, I happen to have a police officer here, and we were looking for something totally different. Someone had dropped something in our field over there that we own, and we happened to notice in the middle of the night that shots went out. We don't know if somebody was killed or whatever right here in South Bridge, and all these cops were there, and then on his report, he didn't have any idea of that being a reality. Do you think they're not reporting everything?
I think the reporting's not happening. I'm thinking there's a lot of disconnect as well, too. And this goes back to something we've talked about on the show before, is that the truth of the matter is whether things aren't being reported correctly or they're not being reported at all. And we're continuing to see this, right? The number one news reporters is the streets, right? They know what happened.
Yeah.
And when they're saying, oh, there was a shooting, someone got shot.
Right.
And then there was also police activity, but that police activity is not showing up on any reports. That's very concerning.
Yeah. Well, I just think that, which we're going to talk about, the Tyre Nichols situation. I think that sometimes we go through all of these motions to make things happen, but then if you don't have the right infrastructure, because right now, for a police officer not even to know that there was a shooting in South Bridge just a couple of days ago, it's just not good.
Yeah. I agree with you.
It's just not good. So we're gonna just say there were no murders, and we're gonna leave it there for right now. But we are going to follow up again just to talk about whether or not things are getting reported correctly or even deliberately not being reported. I don't know which one it is. But I want to take this time and speak very slowly about the whole Tyre Nichols situation, because I'm gonna tell you what I'm feeling. You out there way more than I am, but I'm sensing, after watching his funeral, I'm going to give you an opportunity later on to talk about the service that you want to share. But after watching the service, same type of response from the black community, ministers, and then to see the uproar, or I shouldn't say the amount of women from the vice presidency all the way down who are crying, who are hurting because another black male has been assassinated.
So this is a very passionate subject for me.
Mhm.
One, that video came out last week. And I know we talked about it on the show and we were waiting for the release of it. And I had tried to avoid it at first, because I had known it was going to be bad. I talked to some of the activists out there, some of the attorneys out there as well too, who had already seen it. But as it goes, I ended up seeing the video. It was plastered everywhere, and that video broke my heart again.
Mhm.
I am so sick and tired of seeing black harm over and over and over again. When he cries out, you envision yourself crying out for help. He was only a few yards away from his mother's house.
80 yards.
And to watch 5 people that also look like me
Mm.
beat him as they're being encouraged by their white counterpart
That's. I was hoping you would bring that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
is sickening.
Yeah.
And, you know, it reminds me a lot of Emmett Till.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because why, during Emmett Till, they went to go get Emmett
Hmm.
from his cousin's house. It was other slaves
Hmm.
that held him down,
Mhm.
that strung him up,
Hmm.
that discarded of his body at the beckoning of their master.
Mhm.
It is 2023, and yet again another black man was lynched.
Hmm.
They don't have to use nooses anymore.
Right.
They have a badge and they have a gun now.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been talking about. Not just in Memphis, not just in Kentucky, not just in Baton Rouge, not just in anywhere else, Detroit, Kenosha, Philly, Wilmington, Newcastle, all these different places. Time and time again, a black life is being discarded. The community comes together, faith leaders, community leaders, some elected officials, the family of the victim, and they say they want change. And then a bunch of cowards come
Mm.
and use every excuse in the book not to get something done.
Yeah. I even looked at Harriet Tubman movie with my daughter yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and it's always these white people who sick these black sellouts on us.
Mm-hmm.
When I heard there was another person, I said, that's the invisible hand.
Yeah.
And I was listening to you carefully as you were sharing,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't want to interrupt because I know that this is it's emotional. I saw some of it. I could not handle it.
Mm-hmm.
I have to watch myself too and know how much I can handle. When it first came out, I did not watch it, but like you said, it's plastered everywhere, so I did get a chance to see some of it. The way they beat him, but the edging on, the egging on, the person, and then the comment that the person made. I hope they do catch him, and then what he feel they should do, and they literally carried out
Yeah.
what he said he hoped they would do. It's just unbelievable. What hurts me constantly is to see his mother and to see these women crying out for help. You were spot on. When are we going to not just be in a powerful position, but start using some of our power to bring about real change?
Yeah.
I've never really cared too much about the language Black Lives. I'm sorry, the movement I care about, but that now I'm starting to get a better understanding of what's meant by Black Lives Matter way further than an organization.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you feel we don't matter to America?
You look at that video. That's the living proof right there. But I've said this before. When I say Black Lives Matter, it's not just about police reform. It's about the whole system.
Absolutely.
We are generations behind in the wealth gap, housing, just economic opportunity. We're usually living in the communities that they're okay with polluting, creating cancer clusters. We have health disparities caused by external forces, but then also dealing with implicit and explicit biases in our healthcare system. But when we talk in regards to police reform and policing, you have someone who is taking our money, our taxpayer dollars are paying for them to work the job they do. And they're using that power to systematically execute and beat down the Black community. See, back in slave times, the concept was you beat a man so that he's scared to leave, but you don't beat him too much that he can't work.
That he can't work.
And that's what we're still dealing with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Black people still need to work in the system. They need to become the essential workers when a global pandemic happens. Oh, you go work at the grocery store so that we can get our food for our families, but we get to work from home on Zoom and also work with our kids to make sure that they're not losing any educational opportunities during this time. But you can leave your kids at home. We're going to close your community centers. We're going to close your libraries. We're going to shut down Wi-Fi. Oh, you could get free Wi-Fi, but only if you have an updated bill. Knowing that, like in the city of Wilmington, Comcast has a monopoly on the city of Wilmington. So our bills are almost double what you would pay out in the county. So a lot of people are falling behind on their bills.
Yeah.
See, it's a system that keeps us behind.
Right. Yeah.
And it's a system that certain individuals thrive in.
Yeah. But what bothers me is that a lot of these systems are being handled by people who look like us. And what we're doing is we're continuing on to let the system just keep us underprivileged. You know, speaking of that, we heard, I don't get any emails from IMAC anymore, and I want to say that looking right in the camera, because they decided that they don't want me around. You know, I must be a troublemaker. I must speak too much truth to power. So IMAC decided that I don't want to call all of IMAC, there's some good people in there, but I guess its leadership decided that, you know, we don't want Curry around us because he may create other problems. But I heard that there was a press conference, but then I heard the chaos that happened in the press conference. I wouldn't want to be a part of foolishness anyway. So the question, I guess I'm asking you, I heard that you were there. Somebody said that you had spoken there. What was there any concerns at the press conference that you may have witnessed?
I wouldn't call it chaos.
Okay.
Because I think what happened needed to happen.
Okay.
My role in speaking at it was to speak to the policy that needs to change. And I'm sure all our viewers have heard me talk about Leah Board reform.
Yeah.
It's something that I will probably always be talking about. Ever since I first learned about Leah Board, and then working with national organizations, working with national or prestigious universities to do the research, and for them all to come back to say Delaware has the least transparent law enforcement bill of rights. This isn't just me talking. This is a Harvard study, a UPenn study, a University of Chicago study done by the National Urban League, the National NAACP. They have put resources into this. But yet, some individuals still say all those well-educated people are wrong about the transparency part of it. So I was there to talk on that and talk about some of the steps that need to be taken, not repealing Leah Board completely, but changing it so that it works for everyone. Some of the ministers were there to talk about what happened with Tyree. and why they're joining in solidarity. Well, I think we all were there to join in solidarity with our Memphis community that was mourning and his family. A part of my speech changed a little bit from what I had written down because, I study, I write, but there was some remarks by the mayor of Wilmington.
Yes, I wanted to hear those.
And one thing that really caught my eye, ear, was he said that this isn't a Wilmington issue, it's a national issue. And usually if I'm going to speak about a family's, loved one, I usually give them a heads up, reach out to them, make sure it's okay. But in that moment, I was the next speaker up and really didn't have time to reach out. So I took it upon myself to remind not only the mayor, but everyone standing up there that we have our own Tyrese right here.
Absolutely.
In the city of Wilmington. We have Lamont Moses. We have Jeremy McDowell. In Delaware overall, we have Rodney Reed. We have so many other cases here, just like Tyree, of unarmed Black people being murdered for sleeping, for having fun on St. Patrick's Day, for having a mental breakdown. So yes, this is a national issue. It's a national issue that has touched Wilmington. This is a Wilmington issue. This is a Delaware issue.
No, but let me say this to you. First, for the mayor to be that insensitive, to say this is not a Wilmington issue, he must be asleep.
Yeah.
Nowhere in the world he can be in touch with reality. Now, I can understand his general point. If he would have said also, then I would have been all right with it. This is a Wilmington issue. We have problems with our police department. But also, please note, this is what we're experiencing across the country. I would have accepted that.
But it doesn't stop there, because this mayor sat in front of a camera and said the police squad that killed Tyree was called the Scorpion Squad.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
We have the exact same thing here. They just, fancied up, fluffed the name a little bit to Operation Safe Streets, jump out teams that has been doing the same exact thing, beating people, harassing people, and it's unconstitutional. He said if he thought something was wrong, he would change it. Yeah, some people may get roughed up, but I don't think it's anything to concern myself with.
He said, no, he didn't say that part. I think you added that part.
No, he said some people get roughed up. Something like that.
Okay, yeah.
We'll play the video.
Okay.
But he said he's not changing anything.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I'm giving credit to those in Memphis, because even though some of the city council people didn't care, well, one of them in particular, I think it was the president of city council, didn't care too much for the appointment of the new chief of police. But this woman got in there and she did a phenomenal job with transparency. I mean, even though she did not stop the killing, and some people say, well, maybe she should have done that before this all happened. Yes, we can talk like that as a Monday, quarterback. But I really appreciate the fact of her transparency. And she decided, you know what? I don't care about the lawsuits. We're getting rid of it. She decided to fire those individuals. Why would he feel that? They're getting roughed up. If a person is getting roughed up and it's against their constitutional right, you don't have a right. You don't have a right to say, I don't feel this that much. They probably didn't think they was roughing them up too much.
Right.
Tyree Nichols. They probably didn't feel that they were roughing him up too much. He can handle it, because we've been doing this so long that it's becoming normal. Beating up someone who got stopped for. Did they ever say why he was really? What was the real charge?
So they said erratic driving.
Well, I heard that from the beginning, but where's the proof?
But there's no proof of
Right.
There's no proof of it's no proof of good cause to stop him that night that they can prove on their end. Therefore, this was a seek and find and destroy mission in my eyes.
Wow.
And they took the life of this young man over nothing.
Well,
Over nothing.
let me say this to you and to the mayor or your people who are watching. I think you need to be very seasoned with your wording. This is a Wilmington issue. It may not be to the scale yet that maybe it ended up in Memphis, and I'm sure they didn't think it was ever going to get to this scale there neither. But to say that, this is not a Wilmington issue, it is. It is. Police brutality is an issue all across the country, but it's also happening right here in the city of Wilmington with under 80,000 residents. And we need to make sure that we're paying attention to that, and for you to be that insensitive, to say it is not, something is wrong with you who just don't see that. But it could be because this is not your community that's being affected. That could be why. But let me move this a little bit further, because I don't want to waste all of our time talking about the mayor and his foolish comments. IMAX press conference. Thank God that I didn't see, and I'm going to go back and look at the press conference again. I just was hearing things from the grapevine, as we often do. But Chloe, where I want to turn us to now is just talk a little bit about, this show has to now change its focus, our show. It has to change its focus a little bit, because I'm tired of all of these murders. I'm tired of us getting together only to have a press conference when something has occurred, a life has been lost. I need to know, and let's lay it out today, who are the responsible parties for police reform on the city level, the county level, and the state level, so that we can now target them and start asking questions and giving back to the public our answers. Because whoever it is, I think we're going to have to start asking the questions. Where are you? What are you doing? How come?
Yeah. So first off, for any reform, whether
Okay.
it's state, county, local, it all starts at the state.
Starts at the state.
Because of Leah Board, it makes
Okay.
it very difficult for municipalities to kind of enact any change in policing reform, oversight, transparency, and accountability.
Now, which branch handles that? Is
The
that
General Assembly and the governor.
the General Assembly and the governor? Okay,
Yeah.
so making sure for my seniors who are watching us, because the election time is coming, and I want to make sure that we are building this case appropriately for those who's currently sitting in seats. All right, I don't care about people giving you chicken dinners. It ain't helping your grandchildren continue to live. You have to pay attention to what is going on. Now, the first thing I want to make sure we heard clearly, if we're going to do any kind of reform in the state of Delaware, it starts at the legislature. That means the state representatives as well as the governor.
Yeah.
Now, there is a committee for this. Tell me the name of that committee.
So it used to be a committee for it.
Okay.
The Law Enforcement Task Force.
Okay.
Right. That task force ended in 2022 when the General Assembly ended. We're in a new session now.
Okay.
There hasn't been a formation of a new task force, but there is still the Public Safety Committee on both sides, the Senate and the House, the Judiciary Committee on the Senate and the House side. Those two committees will see most bills that have to deal with policing.
So what do we need to do for example, Wilmington is running into this problem. A couple cities are running into this problem where we desperately need police reform. No one says defund the police. That's not what I'm saying, okay?
Right.
But what I am saying is we need reform. And that. I'm not going to go back on that. Now, understanding that we need reform for the police, you're saying that the Judiciary Committee and the, what was the other one you said?
Judiciary and Public Safety.
And Public Safety.
Yes.
Are there chairs of those committees?
Yes.
Do you know who the chairs are? I'll be asking you questions, and I should have prepared you for this.
Yes. So in the House, the chair is representative of the Judiciary Committee, is Representative Sean Lynn. He represents the Dover area.
Sean Lynn.
Yes.
Okay, he's in charge of that of the
On the House side, yes.
okay, House.
On the Senate side, the chair is Senator Carl Evans Gay.
Okay.
And then for Public Safety and Corrections on the Senate side, that's the name of the committee. Senator Marie Pickney is the chair of that committee.
Okay.
On the House side for Public Safety and Homeland Security, Representative Frank Cook is the chair of that committee.
Frank Cook, I thought he was.
So Frank, he's the former chair. Well, he's the former chair of the task force.
Okay.
But now he chairs a 8-person committee, the Public Safety and Homeland Security.
Now, can this Leah Board be addressed in the Public Safety Committee?
It could, but activists wanted to go to the Judiciary Committee.
Why?
Because we feel as though it will have a fairer hearing.
Why? When you got Frank Cook right there, he's from Wilmington. I disagree with y'all. If you're saying to me, Frank Cook, who represents our area is the chair of the, what's the name of that committee again?
Public safety and
I'm doing
Homeland
this on
Security.
purpose. Public safety. If he's in charge of it, for you to think it should go somewhere, not you, but the advocates, then I think that's where it needs to be, because that's the first person that we can deal with if it doesn't go, so we don't get something through.
Well, I will say this: he is a member of the Judiciary Committee.
Okay.
But also on the Judiciary Committee, we have strong allies such as Sherry Dorsey Walker, who represents the 3rd District in Wilmington,
Which I think she'll do a great job.
Sean Lynn, who is an attorney in himself, who represents Dover area, Krista Griffiths, who is a former Deputy Attorney General, worked in the DOJ. She now represents a portion of the city of Wilmington over where Gerald Brady's old district was. And then Cindy Romer, who is the daughter of a former Wilmington firefighter. She represents Newark, though, but has been on the front line of addressing just gun violence, period. And she is of the belief that police violence is a part of the community violence that we need to address. So we have strong allies who will have an open and robust conversation. Also, there's faith leaders who serve on that committee who are representatives. He's actually a Republican, Tim Dukes, who understands the moral compass of where we need to go with things as well too, and also a former mayor who also understands the difficulties of dealing with things like that as well.
So now, because this is going to become a long, drawn-out process, it looks like it is. So how do we make sure? Because I want to be able to call. I'm gonna call Sherry Dorsey. I talk to her quite often, and I believe she listens to the community.
Yes.
I do believe that with all of my heart. I just need to know when I'm speaking with her that how do we push this forward? We cannot have another death before we start talking again. And can I just say this to all of you who are watching? The mayor and the governor and county execs, these are good people. But as soon as something goes wrong, they're going to come to the faith leaders. They're going to come to the advocates. They're going to come to several people saying, could you please keep everybody under control while we get to the bottom of it? There is no chaos right now. This is the time to get to the bottom of it. Because the next thing that happens, we may not be able to pull people together. Because people are getting frustrated. I'm at a place where, we can't keep letting this go on. This has to stop. And I'm tired of seeing these funerals, one after the other, and then all we can do is just hear these wonderful speeches from these preachers and politicians who come in, and we still with the exact same issue. I am going to call Sherry Dorsey, and I'm going to talk to some others who you've given the list of, and Frank Cook as well. I don't care about my personal differences. I don't have a personal difference with him. I was cool with him before he became a state representative. He just decided to act kooky and do some crazy stuff. So that's on him, but I'm going to always represent my people because I'm not going to be a sellout. Of all the things I am, I'm not going to be a sellout. So I will be contacting his office. And if you don't want to talk to me, I'm going to let y'all know, because at some point he's going to have to step up and we're going to have to get some things changed. So I hear you. You're saying y'all would prefer to go to the judiciary. I don't care where it go. I just want to see it happen.
Yep.
So that's where it starts. So you're saying the city and the county really can't do much.
Correct.
Because it has to funnel through the state.
Yes.
Well, then I'm going to leave it there. And when we come back next week, we're going to see what kind of answers we've gotten for you. And I'm going to tell you who I talked to. We're going to tell you who we talked to so that we'll be able to really deal with police reform. It's out of control.
Yeah.
And those of you who watch me, some of you watch us on YouTube, but for those of you who watch me in the city of Wilmington, you know it's out of control. Are all police officers bad? Absolutely not. We have some outstanding police officers, some who are over here serving over in South Bridge, outstanding, here to help. But we also have some bad apples, and to protect them is totally inappropriate. I'm going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back and we're going to continue on in this vein. But we got a couple more things we want to cover, such as the City Council, District 1 have been now appointed, and I want to just share a few insights with that. And
We actually have a line that we do at our house. We practice this thing. What is it?
I'm Ariel Sky Williams. I'm 8 years old. I'm unarmed and I have nothing that will hurt you.
It's just kind of a thing we practice at our house. There are great police officers out there. There's also some police officers who are not so good.
And my fear is that you run across one of those bad ones.
For some reason, people of color have always been a target by the police.
Before they became a policeman, they were a person. And that person took all their ideas and all their thoughts and all their prejudice into their job.
Why would a police officer assume that you did something bad?
Maybe because of my skin color.
I remember being put in handcuffs for something that had nothing to do with me. I was literally walking in the mall. Cops slammed me on the ground, busted my lip, chipped my tooth. That actually made me really mad.
How about the time they pulled us over with me in the car and arrested me and left all of you guys sitting in the car and nobody knew how to drive on the side of the road because the bumper on the car was kind of hanging off?
No.
You know, we live in Puyallup. There's people that don't even have a bumper on their car.
My rear brake light wasn't working, and I got to my destination and they were working.
I was about your age, actually. They grabbed me.
Why?
I didn't know at the time. They just grabbed me. They threw me onto the police car.
I got tased that time. That time they tased me because they said I wasn't complying.
Ariel, are you okay?
What's wrong, baby? I'm okay, I'm alive, all right? Every day I get to see you, I get to do this, right? All right, come on, let's calm down, let's finish this, all right? You good? Hey, you're making me cry. Come on.
You have to be careful when you're out there in this world because this world's not going to always be honest or fair to you. I know, Sean, you got a little bit lighter than the rest of them, so it's a possibility you won't get stopped.
Sound like you just pulled him over.
Okay. If you're driving, cop pulls you over.
Police gets out the car, comes to the window, tick, 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 tick. What would you do?
License and registration, please, ma'am.
Why do you think I pulled you over?
I don't know, tell me.
When a police officer says something to you, you're black. You can't be looking at them saying, oh, I don't know, why don't you tell me?
Well, I mean,
that right there is giving them the license to pull you out of your car and physically harm you because it will be done.
Don't get upset, don't get sassy. Why did you pull me over? You don't have, I know how, just follow instructions and stay calm.
Okay.
Do you think just being a police officer and pulling you over, regardless of if you feel you've done something or not, they should get your respect?
That's a tricky question.
The answer is yes.
Yes. If you gotta go to your wallet to get your ID, say, can I go reach in my back pocket to get my ID out?
You could do what I do, and I show them my hands, so when they're walking up, they see I don't have anything in my hands.
I'm Ariel Sky Williams, and I have nothing that will harm you or hurt you.
And what's the next place you put your hands when you're driving? Or on the steering wheel, with your hands out?
If at all possible, turn your phone on.
And call someone and put it on speaker.
But whatever you're doing, I want you to say what you're doing before you do it.
You don't write any statements.
Well, you have to write a statement.
You don't have to write anything. You're a minor. I'm responsible for you. No one can tell you anything else.
If it tells you to be quiet, do everything that you can to get back to me. I see it weighing on you, and I don't want it to weigh on you.
I'm just worried about Donovan. I'm worried about him now.
Who are you guys talking about?
My nephew and her cousin.
I don't want him to be shot. I don't want him to go to jail.
You guys, if you could say anything to police, what would you say?
Learn about people, learn about their problems.
Take some diversity training. I mean, it should be like at this point, like a monthly requirement.
You know, there's really nothing at this point that they could do that would make me feel any safer with them without them just point blank, clearing them all out and starting all over from scratch.
So don't always assume that all of them are bad.
Mm-hmm. But all you see on the news and in newspapers, and it keeps happening.
It's just in a different way. It's like how people are like, you should forgive so-and-so, but they keep doing it to me. I forgave them, but they keep doing it to me. It gets harder and harder to forgive them.
Wow.
And we're back. I just want to, as we were just talking about before we went to break, we talked about this whole police reform. It has to become serious, and we have to take it serious. And I think that the focus of the House for the state of Delaware has to be on this, because as I understand it, Kobe, and I don't want to put all the pressure on you all the time. As I understand it, the Senate is ready to move. They're ready to make things happen, but it's more on the House side where it's always being held up. But on the House side, we got Frank Cook, who's in charge of public safety, who can certainly push some things, make some things happen to show true reform. I really wish he would have done that while it was just a committee set for that. And also on the House side is Sean Lee, and those two officers I'm going to reach out to, and I'm going to see what kind of responses we're going to get about where are they with police reform. That's all. That's the simple question. So Frank, you already know what my question is when I call your office. Well, I don't think Lee, State Representative Lynn, rather, I don't think he watches, but he never know. They get it on YouTube. So I want you to know too, I'm calling your office, and if you don't want to return the call, I'm telling the people that you just don't want to return my call, and I'm fine with that. Let me move on from that, because we're running out of time. I just found out, in my opinion, this is my opinion, that there were 3 candidates for the 1st district, and that it ended up being, I don't know, somebody told me it ended up being like 2 candidates at the end. That's what somebody said to me. Now, I don't know all the details, so the information I'm giving you right now is my own opinion based on what I heard. I heard that there were 3 candidates, and the 3 candidates for 1st district was Kobe Owens, was Harold Gray, and it was Vincent White. But then all of a sudden, there was some, whatever it was, and it ended up being 2 candidates that ended up being voted on, and the 2 candidates were Vincent White and Kobe Owens. But after you gave your little speech, see, that's why you're supposed to sell your people out. Because if you would have sold your people out, you would have been probably the one who got the seat. But we do thank God that we give Vincent, I don't want to start criticizing Vincent or anybody else, but Vincent White did get the seat. But after, I think the night of that day, wasn't it the same day?
It was the next day.
So the next day, so they had time to say, "Hey, don't make sure don't." Kobe disagreed with the mayor, so we're going to make sure that we get him out of there. But anyway, I just want to let the people know that the person who has been appointed to the 1st district council seat is Vincent White. And Kobe, I want to admonish you as a leader in this community, as a pastor, as a scholar. Run. That's all I got to say. Run and do your very best. Because at some point it's going to break, and you ain't gonna, and when you win, you ain't gonna owe nobody anything.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right. And you got any comments you want to say on that, or just want to move on?
Just congratulations to Vincent. I've known everyone on the list. Well, I know myself, of course, but everyone else on the list I've known for a while. So congratulations to Vincent.
All right. Congratulations, brother Vince White. God bless. We'll be right back.
Something's missing, right? I mean, what's a commercial without music? Or a movie, or a long drive, or, well, anything. Music drives everything we do. When you hear the riff of an electric guitar, or a smooth bass line, or a powerful beat on the drums, that rock and roll energy is often inspired by unsung legends in Black music. And today's artists are honoring their legacy with an electrifying new sound, but it often goes unheard. That changes today. Nissan's continuing their commitment to support Black music. They're hiring Black artists to create original music with all the royalties and recognition they deserve.
There will always be stories told of who we are. Some we tell.
My parents bought this little blue house in Boston.
Some that are told about us. It's up to us to find ways in which we can document ourselves.
I was 44 when I started making this for you. And for me.
And we're back. Well, Kobe, we want to give you an opportunity on that Kobe's Corner to see what's going on in the world of Kobe.
Yeah, so first off, I want to go back to something. The funeral of Tyree Nichols, right? One, you had a family mourning surrounded by the Vice President of the United States of America, who spoke there. The family attorney, Ben Crump, and of course, Al Sharpton. Now, I've gotten to know both Attorney Crump and Reverend Sharpton a lot over the years. Two brilliant men who are still leading this movement. But I am so tired of having to watch Reverend Sharpton eulogize yet another black man taken too early from this life because of senseless police brutality. I got emotional, and I didn't watch the whole thing. I couldn't watch the whole thing. But I got emotional looking at that black casket and the white flowers all around it, on top of it. And then watching his family. It is beyond heart-wrenching every time we have to see an image like that. And why everyone mourns, we have to find that energy, that fuel, to keep going in this fight. And I know this show, we've talked a lot about police reform on this show today. CNN was streaming the funeral, and they cut away to show a clip from earlier as people were coming to the church, and a 61-year-old white man was coming in, and he was carrying a cross on his shoulder, a big cross. And when they stopped him to ask him why, he said he drove 12 hours from Michigan, had to drive through an ice storm, all to pay his respects. All to pay his respects. Tyree loved his mom, had her name tattooed on his arm, had a 4-year-old, I believe, 4 or 5-year-old son. That's another black boy that's going to grow up without having their father in their life. And if anyone saw my Facebook, my Instagram, my Twitter, both my professional and personal Facebooks, about an hour before the video went viral, or the video was released, I posted a video that the family had posted. And it was of Tyree doing what he loved so much, and that was just skateboarding. Living life free times. It wasn't no words, it was just some music and him skating. But it was so impactful because he was just living freely. When we look at this fight and where we're at, and the fact that I'm tired, I'm upset sometimes, I'm stressed a lot of time. I'm lucky to still be able to be stressed, to be upset, to be tired.
Right.
Because Tyree can't be now. Lamont Moses can't be now. Jeremy McDowell can't be now. So we have to go on in their footsteps and fight for them since they can't anymore. So while the media will try to vilify peaceful protests, look for the small half percentage of looting and stuff like that, while elected officials continue to find every excuse not to do something, we're going to keep standing on the side of the families, of victims, of our community who've been beaten down, who've been attacked, who've been vilified continuously. We have a long way to go.
We have
long way to go.
Yeah, and you know, as you were speaking, I was just sitting here thinking that this is why we're so passionate about our legislators doing something. There was once a quote, "Have you not a heart?" To all of our legislators who have the power in your hand to handle this, to fix this, to open up meaningful dialogue that will then produce meaningful change. Have you not have a heart? Will it have to be blood on your street, in your family, for you to then realize that the loved one, we talk about Tyree now, but the loved one, for that loved one to be your person before you decide to make a move. I heard what the mayor said is not a Wilmington issue. He's wrong. It is. Yes, it is a national issue, but it is a Wilmington issue. Covering it up, trying to make sure politically we look right, it's not going to help you. I don't care about the FOP supporting your cause. I don't care about the gun folks. What's they called? NRA. It's all right for them to give you donations, but they should not control you. And I think, again, I didn't even take any of your time, but have you not a heart? Have you not a heart? It's almost like saying, Lord, let them experience what Tyree mom experienced. I didn't say do it. I'm just saying it's like almost wanting to say it, because for you to go back to business as usual speaks to you having no heart. Will your heart turn? Will your heart acknowledge the fact that others are bleeding? We have a quote here at our church: help those who cannot help you back. At some point, that has to be it. I'm sorry, but I'm feeling, I think this is more of it's not even emotional, because we're not speaking from emotions. We're speaking from the reality of truth.
Yeah.
I don't want nobody to feel like this is, oh, they're just emotional today. No, our brothers are dying. Violence in our community is very high. And I can hear some of those other advocates saying, well, is we doing it to each other? No, we are put in a circumstance where we can't help. But you know, you saw crabs in a barrel? Yeah. They're just trying to all survive. Sometimes they're hurting each other trying to survive. So I just hope that somebody will wake up. But I'm going to hold people accountable. I'm going to use this little show, and I'm going to keep talking about it until it goes viral. And certain individuals are going to continue to be exposed. And I'm going to start putting pictures up, because I think that's what needs to happen. I'm sorry, Kobe.
Yeah. The last point I have for today, and you know, I wanted to end on a more joyful point. Chemours and Eastside Charter Charter School officially broke ground on a new STEM hub at the Eastside Charter School site.
Excellent.
It's going to be a 24,000 square foot building that's going to become a community center after school, on the weekends, during the summer. That's going to offer mentoring, robotics, coding, chemistry, biology, renewable energy, science, Olympiad competitions. Wilmington Public Library staff will staff it on the weekends to keep it open. It's a $25 million project. And as of right now, they've raised $21 million.
Oh.
$3 million from federal dollars, $4 million from the state, $1 million from Barclays, $4 million from Chemours. So they have about $4 million left, and they raised some other, donors as well too. I just want to give a huge shout out to the Eastside Charter School CEO, Aaron Bass, for having the vision of wanting to bring this to here for the students that need it the most, and for a community that also needs it. On this show, we talked a lot about black harm, about the violence that we're seeing. The one thing that no one can take from you is your education.
Absolutely.
And it is on us who are older shoulders and responsibility to make sure we're offering those opportunities to our youth. So I just want to say to Aaron, hats off, and to the whole team who made this happen and is going to continue to make this happen. Hats off to you, because this is what our community needs. We need more projects like this.
Absolutely.
And we need to really open the door for our youth.
Right, absolutely. Well, I say hats off to him too. When I saw that in the paper, I was so excited about it, and that's what's needed as we were running into so many problems with the pandemic, and a lot of our children are being left behind. To bring this type of program and have raised that kind of money already, it's a reality that's going to happen, and that's really good, and we're very grateful. We'll be right back.
My advice to girls who are thinking about getting into STEM fields is to do it. Run towards your passion and don't look back.
You can do anything that you want. You can solve big, big social problems using these methods that you learn in STEM.
Do not allow challenges and issues that come about to defeat you.
I try to look at failure as a learning experience.
I always try to have someone that I look up to or someone that can help me with decisions that I'm going through.
Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right.
You need to be able to have people who come from different perspectives, and then you can attack a problem in a different way.
Hey!
I am a triple threat. That's what I like to call myself. I'm young, I'm black, and I'm female. Woo! Sometimes I walk in a room and not everybody can relate to me. And I love being able to break down those walls to show them I'm technical, I know what I'm talking about, and we can work together to solve this problem.
And we're back. Many of you have heard that there were some issues going on at Delaware State University. Tony Allen, who is a very personal friend of ours, who have been a champion before he even went to Delaware State University, he was just with the Bank of America. He has always been a champion in our community and have done a phenomenal job with helping us in our community. And I wanted to say, encourage him to stay strong. We recognize that there's some things going on, and the things that are going on, Kobe, I was shocked to know he stayed with those students to 2 o'clock one morning, just dealing with the issues, hearing what they had to say. But Tony Allen has done so much for that school that I don't see why people won't give him an opportunity to somewhat fix it.
I agree with you. I think, one, hats off to him for staying and listening to the students, and making sure that their voices were heard during that town hall. That it was improv, right? The issue was brought to their attention the day before with the protest, and they had a meeting the next day. I also want to say, the person I know Tony to be is almost like a chess player, right? So that chess player is going to think and listen and see the board first before making a move.
Absolutely.
And I feel as though that's what he is going to do. He listened and saw the board laid out in front of him. And he's going to go back and work with whoever he needs to work with in the administration of DSU to start addressing some of the concerns that he heard that was brought to him, directly to him, by the students.
Right. And I think that's what's important, because just giving loose answers without there being any background or any thought in it, it will not help us to serve as well. But I was grateful that he did take the time to talk with the students and allow the students to share their concerns. And their concerns, it stems around this whole notion of there was some rapes that were not reported or was reported, and what was going to be the plan. And again, presidents, just like mayors of cities and county execs, they don't handle every department, but they are held accountable for every department. But now that Tony has gotten this information, I'm willing to bet you that Tony is going to tell folks that you're going to either do it or you're going to have to go. And I heard another rumor that kind of bothering me, and that by the time of the airing of this show, they would have already had the joint finance committee meeting. But there were some students who were going to go down, a handful or whatever, and try to protest that. That is the worst thing in the world. Hear me, grandmom. Tell your grandkids who are down there that the worst thing in the world that we can do is go and protest a joint finance committee meeting that they don't give Del State any money. That's the only historically black college we have in this state. People are looking for a reason not to give Delaware State University any money. I just don't think that's a smart move.
I would say this: if I was to show up down there, my ask would be to allocate additional money to DSU for handling backlog of sexual assault cases, and then also having an independent investigatorial unit for that on campus. We know that campus rapes are extremely high and common, unfortunately. So what are we doing? What can they do? Not we. I'm not a part of Del State, but what can Del State's administration do to proactively try to prevent them? But then also, in a worst case scenario, when they do take place, what are they also doing to, one, fully investigate and take the proper actions needed to make sure that the person who committed that act is being held accountable for their actions.
Yeah, because I just think sometimes we just act so fast. I mean, the students, we're going to go down there, we're going to just protest, hold all the money from Del State. That is not smart. And matter of fact, I think Senator Brown is on the joint.
He is on joint finance.
Okay, I need to give him a call. I hope that, and he's also a graduate of Delaware State. So I'm sure that
there's two graduates. Stephanie Bowden's also on it.
Okay, well, we're going to be all right. But I just want us to be mindful, be strategic about what you do. And like you said, instead of saying don't give them any funding, give them more funding for this specific reason.
And allocate it to that.
Yeah, right. And that's what that whole allocation is that they will be able to do that. But again, we're praying for you, Brother Allen. You went down there, you took on a huge charge, and now we're faced with this, but we are with this together. And I appreciate your style. And I love that whole chess thing. How you do. He looks at the board, and we hope and trust that when by the time the airing of this, we'll be able to come back again and just share some of the good news of the things that they're putting in place in order to make things right. And it's not just DSU who run in with this issue. It's across the country. But since it has landed on DSU's plate, I want to make sure that we are addressing it, as well as praying for its leader, who we consider to be a champion in the African-American community. Kobe, is there anything else on your corner
That's
today?
all I have for today.
Well, listen, it's been a great joy serving you all today, and I hope and trust you'll look at us next week. We're going to hold people accountable. Till next time, God bless.
Take care, y'all.